All right, finna go ahead and get started. What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Life of a Champ podcast, featuring the boy. For the people that do not know you, Anthony, go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. I was thinking, should I do it this one or should I do it the next one?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this one simple. I'm gonna keep this one. It's your boy Anthony, yo. If you ain't seen me on here by now, you gotta be slacking.
You gotta be slacking for sure. Haven't had you in a minute, but
Yeah.
glad to have you back on for sure.
It's been a minute.
A few things I want to say before we're going to get started. Make sure you go and follow me on TikTok, just Life of a Champ podcast on TikTok, as well as make sure you go ahead and leave a like on my YouTube shorts, as well as my YouTube clips. If you can't catch the full podcast, but still want to get the game that I'll be spitting, definitely go ahead and check that out for sure. Also, if you're in the chat, make sure you go and let me know as well, whether you're in the Twitch chat or whether in the YouTube chat, I'll be checking it. So tap in and say what's good. Other than that, is there anything you want to say before we go and get started, Anthony?
No, I'm ready to get right into it, man. I'm excited about this one.
All right, so yeah, go ahead and let them know. So today's topic is going to be introspective thinking. So if you're a person that is struggling with this or somebody that's very, very advanced within this, I want you to go ahead and leave it in the comments so we can, help each other out. Whether it's describing something and or adding to an idea, or maybe it's asking a certain question that you feel needs to be answered for yourself. Make sure you go ahead and leave it in the comments for sure. But Anthony, go ahead and start right here.
Yeah. All right. So introspective thinking is introspection, at least the definition of introspection. If you don't know what that is, it's the examination or observation of one's own mental and emotional processes. So basically what that means is you're taking everything in, right? All your emotions, and you're taking the time to evaluate how you actually feel, right? It's instead of just letting emotions flow like most people typically do.
Or yeah, we're just staying solid with that because, quite frankly, obviously emotions are they're gonna vary depending on the certain situation, and of course, some of those things need to be evaluated over time, right? Maybe you'll feel maybe for like a situation. Let's just say you feel some type of way about the situation initially, right? But that introspection is going to be the rest of that scenario where you can develop your own ideas based off of that problem or whatever, how you go about it, right?
Yeah.
Would you say?
Yeah, that sounds pretty about right. It's like the completion of a thought, because most people they take the emotion and they run with it, but they don't realize that's half of what could be a much bigger picture.
I would definitely agree.
Yeah.
I would definitely agree. But yeah, one thing I want to mention with this as well, and this is something that we had a conversation about previously, within right before we went ahead and got it started. But introspection can truly be done and maximized while being alone or within isolation, because it gives yourself a lot of time to just analyze a lot of different things, and it also avoids you from consuming certain things or being around certain people, so you can actually lock in and think about the things that truly need to be thought about. And also, like Anthony had mentioned, um, or it could be within a period of time where, let's just say, you're with people, but you're with yourself. Does that make sense? You're like kind of like you're in a group, but you're with yourself, right? And in those moments, you can also take the time to go ahead and do some introspective thinking, because there will be an opportunity afforded to you. Yeah, how often do you think you do this within a group setting, Anthony?
Within a group setting,
Yeah,
when I'm just like to
or
myself,
like you're at work or something like that. Like how often do you do it? You think
every day,
every day?
every single day. Not even always by choice. Now I do it unconsciously now.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, it's just like it could be quiet in an area,
Mm.
but it's quiet just in general. But I don't notice that until I actually think, hey, it's quiet out here, because it's like I'm having a whole conversation with myself.
Mhm.
It's like I'm sitting on this side, I'm sitting on this side, and it's like saying, okay, well, this is how I'm feeling right now, and it's like being your own therapist, kind of. It's like,
Almost, right?
this is how I'm feeling right now. Then this is what I'm saying. Why do you feel that way?
But it's all unconscious.
But it's all unconscious.
Yeah, it's just happening. It's like almost like you're a victim of it, as opposed to like you consciously thinking, you know what, I'm gonna do some introspective thinking. It more of just happens, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that we wanted to mention as well. Is it's most of these things that we'll discuss, whether it's the way that our mind works within this introspective thinking, or just going over it in general. Most of it, it's very, very unconscious. You kind of just do it. Now you can do it consciously. And we're gonna recommend people to go ahead and really do this consciously, because when you do it consciously, you can give more time and attention to something that truly needs to be given more time and attention. So yeah, but what I will say though is, Yeah, you can do it. You can do it with yourself, right?
Yeah.
When you're with yourself, right?
Exactly. I cannot stress that point enough. Like the isolation factor has to be there. Like whether obviously if you're in a group setting and you can't do it, then that's perfectly fine. But if you're to yourself, that means no electronics. No social media, no what's it called? No activities. Like this needs to be a to yourself activity. If your mind is focused on something else, it's not going to work.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, maybe if you have the if you can do it on the level that we do it at, then maybe you can do it while doing something. But it had one thing you need for sure is at least the silent factor and the focus factor.
Hmm.
You cannot be talking to somebody while doing introspective. It does not work that way.
Yeah, no, definitely not for sure. And I feel like a lot of people they just either they don't even have these thoughts. Like I've had conversations with people. I'm like, bro, you have never sat with yourself at all and actually like did some like long term thinking at all. And it's just so sad for sure, for sure. So like I said, if you're one of those people who doesn't do enough thinking or who's just like super caught up in the present moment and you don't have enough time to truly analyze the things that truly need to be analyzed or question the things that need to be questioned, then you need to spend a little bit of extra time to yourself and thinking about the things that need to be thought about, getting over the things that need to be gotten over, right? And that's going to truly expedite your process and expedite your progress, especially. And the people who are able to do it, you're able to observe consciously the people that have done it a lot. So that's something that I've realized, especially with some of my friends, where I have conversations with them, and I'm like, I could tell you've put in the time within yourself to think about certain things or to analyze your own, like he had mentioned within the definition, or being able to recognize your own emotional and logical processes and the way that you examine certain things. And I've also had conversations, and I'm sure you've had conversations with people as well, where you could just tell it's just not there.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, way too much. And honestly, it's when I hear it sometimes around them, I kind of ask myself why, and then but I've been asking that for a while. I was like, why? Like why do they talk this way, right? And
Okay.
stuff like that. And it wasn't until more recently that I realized it's because they don't do introspective thinking, and I'm like, it's noticeable.
Mhm.
I can see that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely something like we mentioned. You're able to just notice it straight off the rip, especially with talking with certain people as well. Um, how can you tell if someone doesn't do that? Okay, so I'll give you what I think. This is was going to be my next point. I think the way that you recognize it most is you just have conversations about certain things, and I would say this is going to lean a lot more towards either asking questions about yourself, or about their self. You could tell if okay, I'll give you one example. Right, I went around work one day and I asked people, "Hey, do you believe that you're a confident person?" And a lot of them said yes. Oh yeah, I believe I'm a confident person. Okay, tell me why. And then they really don't have that great of an answer, or it takes them a very long time to come up with an answer.
Yep.
Now, if you're a person who's done a lot of time, put in a lot of time with introspective thinking, you're going to be able to come up with a very clear and concise answer because hopefully it's something that you potentially have thought about,
Yeah, you can break it down.
or at the very least, when you are like I said, when you are breaking it down as that question's been asked and you're processing it within your own internal self, you're able to come to a conclusion a lot quicker and a lot more, like I said, more defined, I would say. And also, one thing I want to add with that as well is you can tell if somebody hasn't done it because they truly just believe everything that they're told. They don't question a lot of different things. They don't really have independent thinking. It's more of a group way of thinking, and they found it the most effective and most efficient. And quite frankly, obviously, it's not. Once you've done the time and you put in the time with yourself, you'll recognize that most people truly just believe everything that they're told. They don't question anything, and then therefore they live the result of that, which is pretty much living like everybody else and thinking like everybody else.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
That's actually a very good point. Yeah, you guys basically become like a kind of pretty much like a slave mind,
Oh,
honestly.
100%.
For if you don't do any introspective thinking. But what I noticed is like when you said the whole thing about confidence, yeah, I actually have a term for that. It's called well, I mean, it's not even a term. It's more like just a general term. Yeah, pretty much. It's emotional indecisiveness, right?
Emotional. Okay.
So basically, they have their emotions, but they're not clear to them though. So like if they can say they're confident, but if they don't know why they're confident, so that they don't. That's where the indecisiveness. Like I don't know if it's because of this or because of this. I just know that I'm confident.
Hmm.
There's no extra detail to it. All right. I have actually have an example of this too. Actually, no, that's not my example though. My example was more based off of I hear this one. It's negative when I hear more negative self talk in people, right?
Okay.
Like I mean I understand that actually more so stems from a lack of confidence, which is something you gain a lot of with what's it called, with introspective thinking, right?
100%.
100%. But when I hear people, even if it's like the little subtle negative self talk, I notice that's I see a lack of introspective thinking in that. Example of this, right? Some of my old coworkers, right? My old job. Every now and then, I'd hear them say something like, "Oh yeah, I screwed up. I suck at this. I suck at that." I'm like, oh, I'm such a terrible person. I'm like, what?
Why would you convince yourself
Why,
of that?
he's like, why would you? Why would you? Yeah, exactly. I was like, even if it's just a joke, why would you ever say that about yourself? I'm like, I would never, I would never. And I realized I was like, okay, I see where they're at, right? I'm like, and it always confused me before I actually realized what introspective thinking was, because I did this before I knew what it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, which the lucky ones of us can, but it definitely helps with that, because you realize you just stop doing it altogether. Like you don't have to consciously or unconsciously think, hey, I'm saying something negative about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And another thing I want to add to that as well is with this introspective thinking, not only are you able to, process the things internally, because that's pretty much what it is, or analyze the things internally, but also I feel like it also helps you become a better observer of life in general, and also a better observer of the way that people, um, kind of think about themselves and the ways in which they think. I feel like that also adds into that. Would you say that's definitely an element?
That is definitely an element. Honestly, actually, it gives you more perspective of other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like it makes you. Even if you're not more empathetic to the simple situation, you could be more sympathetic, right? Like you have a more understanding. You're like, okay, I know where I'm at. Now I want to. Now you get you the opportunity to try to analyze it from their point of view, right? And it's very helpful. Like you can deal with some bad situation, good situation, bad situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you interact with people overall will completely change if you realize, if you can see things from their perspective.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, definitely. If you could see it from their perspective, it's definitely going to be very, very handy. And I feel like a lot of people they don't take enough time to do that, for sure, for sure.
they don't.
Or analyze that, for sure. But getting into it, um, you want to talk about these points right here, these two up top.
Oh yeah, actually that's exactly what I was gonna. That's exactly what I was gonna get into. It helps you turn emotion into logical reasoning. It's literally like a filter, right? So if you can take time and think, right? Like, if you have to ask yourself the question. I said that already, but it's literally asking yourself a question: why am I feeling this way? And if you can explain why you're feeling an emotion, right? You can find out a logical reason as to why. And if you know the why, you can figure out a solution, or you can run with it and like, hey, I like this feeling. How can I make it so I'm constantly feeling this way?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's it's literally, I think it's probably one of, if not like it's like the main what's it called, way of explaining emotions, because you know how emotions are all over the place,
Of
that
course.
you think they can't be explained. They can be explained, but you have to explain them to yourself. You can't, explaining them to other people, right? Unless you're like somehow locked into the same introspective wavelength, which as far as I'm concerned,
Not likely.
yeah, highly unlikely, then it's not going to work. So if you want to turn, you have to, in order to turn emotional, what's it called,
Just say emotion.
yeah, just emotion into logic and genuine thought, right? Uh, Facts over feelings, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
You need introspection. It's literally like a gateway. It's the gateway between emotion and reason.
Mm-hmm.
It's where everything comes together and actually makes sense. So
Yeah, one thing I want to add to that is it's definitely absolutely essential to self improvement as well. It's definitely a huge element because you have no other choice. If you're trying to improve yourself, you need to be able to reflect and be able to criticize yourself in the ways in which you've thought before, and also to kind of judge your entire path and within itself. And yeah, it is essential. It is essential. Would you say?
Yeah. For sure. Yes. You'll make leaps and leaps forward. Mostly, this is obviously we talk about mental, physical, spiritual, right?
Mm.
This is a big portion, and I mean probably one of the biggest portions of the mental aspect of it. If you can master introspection, it can help you. It can help you with mastering your physical and spiritual,
100%.
self-improvement.
100%. It definitely can help you become a lot more well-rounded. And if you come across a problem, you're going to be able to resolve the problem a little bit quicker because you're able to break it down within your own mind, right? And Anthony had mentioned with asking yourself, why do you feel this way? There's going to be a lot more questions that are going to be asked, other than why you feel this way. You'll be able to break down the problem within itself. You'll be able to try to hopefully, have more of like an objective look at it and evaluate it for what it actually is, and then being able to move forward, make a decision based off of that, right? And then also, with getting to that logical reasoning, getting past just the emotion and getting to something that's a little bit more logical, a little bit more objective. I would say. There's a comment. This is why so many people are damaged. Hold up, I can't even read that fully.
Because you need to be able to do this
in order to heal.
Actually, funny enough, that was the next point.
Go ahead. Let them know.
Yeah. All right. So we this is one I put in there. I said it's the cure for depression, and it literally goes back to that statement that Jaden just said. That's well written because if you're able to do introspective thinking, like you can ask yourself, why am I hurting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you know why you're hurting, right, you may not heal immediately, but you know the steps you need to take in order to move forward. Like instead of just sitting saying I'm depressed,
Mm-hmm.
you can ask yourself, well, why am I depressed, right?
Because I probably haven't been doing the things that I know I need to do for the longest time.
Exactly.
Right. That's probably part of it, or maybe you haven't fully processed it emotionally.
Exactly. Maybe it's actually, and sometimes it's because of other people, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Of course, right? They're treating the way they make you feel, or something they said, or something they do, right? Well, it may suck, but more than likely you have to either confront that emotion or you have to confront that person.
Yeah. Well, regardless,
or both.
Some confrontation needs to be had.
Exactly.
For sure.
But if you have that confrontation, you'll feel a weight off your shoulders. It's like. I can't actually explain it honestly. It's like literally you can feel it, but you can feel it when it comes off you. You're just like,
oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure. And even if it's initially very very uncomfortable, which a lot of people who are very introverts, they tend to not be able to express that as much as they feel like they need to, and that's definitely a character flaw that they need to work on. If that's something that you go ahead and do, if there's a situation where confrontation is needed, or like I said, you need to go ahead and confront somebody about something. Like I had mentioned, just the initial part of doing it is obviously very very awkward and not exactly the best social situation to be within, but nonetheless, it's super essential still.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You have to be able to communicate with people. I mean, honestly, you don't have to like it. But if you have a problem with somebody, that needs to be resolved. Because if it's not resolved, then tension builds, and there could be they could not even know that it's building. It could be one-sided, it could be two-sided, but either way, something's bound to happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I actually have a perfect example of that, right?
Go ahead.
And it was my first job. It was one of the reasons why I hated it there. Outside of the obvious reason, which I already said multiple times, was the customers, right?
Of course.
But it was my coworkers though, right? A couple of my coworkers, two of my main bosses, right? And it was the fakest interaction between them I ever seen. I was just, every single time I saw them interact, I was just like, it just looked so disgusting to me. And here's why: it's because they always look cheery and smiley in each other's faces, right? Every single time, without fail, every single time one of them wasn't there, right?
Talking shit.
Talking the most shit, right? Like here's the thing, because there was always something wrong, right? And it was always the other person's fault.
That's crazy. Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. It's like they're huggy, cheery, and everything when they're with each other, and they hated each other's guts out. I was like, yo, until sure enough, shit snapped, right? They both quit in the same week. within like 3 days.
God.
I was like,
Damn.
damn, this store is fucked now. But that's not my problem.
Yeah,
But
not anymore. That's for damn sure.
exactly. Apparently there was like crying, screaming. I wasn't there for that. Luckily, I was like, I ain't trying to deal with that shit. And that's you guys' problem.
Of
But
course.
that's what happens when you don't address a situation. And before you address the situation, you need that introspective thought. Like, okay, was this my fault or was this their fault?
And then I think another element of that as well is being able to not only have that introspective thinking, which is definitely obviously essential to, getting anywhere that you want to get to in life. Obviously, you need to be able to analyze yourself and all your strengths and your flaws, of course. But with that being said, if you're not able to communicate this, then you're going to be lacking. Because I've met a lot of people who have done a lot of introspective thinking, right? For sure, who've done a lot of introspective thinking, but their ability to explain it to another person, so they can understand them, has been a little bit lacking, and you can completely tell this. And that is something that I'll say. Not only should you do more introspective thinking, but your ability to explain that and describe it well enough for people to understand you and the way that you think is essential to maintain insanity. Maintain insanity for sure.
Yeah.
Because if you're thinking certain things or feeling a certain type of way about yourself, but you're not able to truly express that to somebody else, you're going to feel some type of lacking. At least that's what I have personally been able to recognize within those certain type of people. When they're trying to explain it, there's a little bit of frustration because they can't exactly put their own thoughts into speech, and they feel limited based off of that. So if you're a person that is working on doing more introspective thinking, as you should, or maybe this is something that you just do naturally, like me and Anthony do, then I would definitely recommend learning some type of speech or trying to speak it out to certain people, whether it's friends, whether it's family, but just trying to talk about these certain things so you're more easily able to describe these things later on. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. You need to, if you can, all right. I mean, and it's a lot easier said than done. If you can, though, try your hardest to probably write it down, right? If you can think of a way to communicate it and then build on it. Yeah, pretty much. That's actually, it's a short explanation, but it's the best I got. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to say, is literally whatever it is you're thinking, that exact thought, put that down. Whether it's on a piece of paper, it's notes on your phone, or whatever. Write that shit down. And
yeah. It allows you to expand your ideas as well later on, and obviously allows you to come back later and add to that whenever you feel is necessary. And of course, all thoughts go away, but if you write it down, it's something that stays because it's something that you can refer back to. That's definitely very, very essential and definitely very, very helpful to introspection as well. If you can rely back on something, like for example, I'll give you an example. I think it's 2021. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. I think I did close to 200 days of journaling, and within that, obviously that's something that I can go back to and analyze the ways in which I was thinking, and kind of how my days were going and the problems that I was processing. Right, that was introspection within itself. Taking the time to be present and in the moment and evaluate your own ways of thinking. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would definitely recommend that for sure, because a lot of people, if you're a person that isn't the best at speaking, nor do you have enough people to talk to, if you're able to write it down and expand on it later, or reanalyze it for what it is, you're going to be in a much better position than most people. I'll say that.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. All right, I'll get into the next point. All right, and that's introspection only works, right? It only works if you are 100% honest and transparent with yourself, right? If you lie to yourself about any of it, don't put your pride aside, right? If you know you're wrong about something, right, before you can admit it to someone else, you have to at least admit that to yourself, right? And you can formulate how you move forward from there. But if you are self-delusional about anything, right? If you think you're like, no matter what, you can't be wrong about this or that, right? Or you handled this absolutely right, there was no flaws whatsoever, that's not going to work. It is not going to work. It's as a matter of fact, it could dig you into a deeper hole.
Okay.
It has the reverse effect, honestly. You have to be able to the one of the big things it can do for a situation is that you have to use it to analyze both points of view. And if you can't, and if you analyze both points of view and the only thing you come up with is I'm completely right, they're completely wrong, you didn't do it right.
Yeah. There should be some deeper thinking. And here's the thing: most people are just obviously not perfect within their delivery or the way that they approach problems. Most people are not, definitely. So you definitely need to you definitely need to be very, very clear with that. Very, very clear. Like you had mentioned, be very, very honest and transparent instead of just, you know, thinking that you went about it 100% perfectly, right?
Exactly. Yep. It requires accountability. You have to be accountable for your own actions and your own thoughts, your own feelings, before you can properly, have introspective thinking.
Yeah, one thing I want to add to that as well. This is something that I've mentioned on previous podcasts, and this is something that I will continue to go ahead and mention because not only is it only 100% effective if you're, being honest and transparent with yourself, but you'll be able to analyze probably one of the most important points of introspection, in my opinion, which is going to be having the element of guilt for denying your potential, right? This is something that is going to be super, super brutal when it comes to that introspective period because you become your biggest supporter and your worst critic at the same time. Because if you're making a decision that is truly going to put you in a position where you're denying your potential, that is something that is going to be at least recognized within yourself, and that is something that where you should go ahead and make adjustments accordingly. Because, or yeah, I don't know if that works. I don't know if you work like that personally.
Oh yeah. Oh for sure.
I can just feel certain movements, certain decisions that I can make throughout the day that's going to put me in a position that's either going to push me towards my potential or push me away from my potential. And I do believe that is going to be an eventual outcome of doing that introspective thinking.
Oh, for sure. The whole guilt and denying potential. Yeah. Oh, that's 100%. That's all the time. I recognize that within myself. And here's how you recognize that within yourself, right? If you realize how you're feeling on one day and you compare it to how you're feeling on another day, right?
Hmm.
Okay, I was feeling better this day. I was feeling average on this day. I was feeling low on this day. And then you put together why, right? It's like, okay, well, I was slacking this day, right? I know I was slacking this day, right? So I was like, so that's on me. Because I know if I did the shit that I need to do, right, I realize that when I go to sleep at night, I'm feeling a lot better about myself. I'm like, I had a good day today, right?
Mm.
Or I had an average day today. It's like I could have done this better, You realize you can take accountability for your own life. Actually, like it's like you are now in control. You're in your own driver's seat. Some people, they go through life, they don't even realize that they're not in the driver's seat of their own life.
Yeah, they're in their car and the car hasn't started yet. They don't even got the key in the ignition, my guy. Come on now.
Or even scarier than that, the car is driving, right? And they're in the passenger seat, and they look over at the driver's seat. That motherfucker driving itself.
Ghost ride the whip. Come on now. Ghost riding the whip. Come on now.
Exactly.
That's crazy, but
Location unknown.
they're in the trunk, man. The car's driving itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's down bad.
Got kidnapped by your own life.
Hey, it is what it is, right? Like I said, if you're in the chat, make sure to let me know whether you're in the Twitch chat or the YouTube chat. If you have any questions or comments regarding anything that we've mentioned, or rather, if you're watching this live or if you're rewatching this, definitely leave a comment for sure. But I do believe that, yeah, you need to be honest and transparent with yourself, and I feel like it's going to lead you down a path that's going to be a lot more clear, as opposed to just denying certain things about yourself, or be unwilling to get over certain things that you need to get over, because those things are going to hinder you long term. And like I mentioned, hopefully it leaves you with the guilt, because I feel like that's necessary. That's necessary in order to fully progress and fully achieve the maximum amount of potential, is by you feeling that and guilt in the positions where you need to feel guilt. It's a healthy guilt.
Yeah.
It's a healthy guilt for sure. And if you don't have it, you're fucked.
Exactly. Because here's the thing. I've had so many times where I'd be like, all right, I was like, I feel this way, right? It's like, I know I feel some type of way. I'm like, okay, I shouldn't feel this way, right? Because logically, this isn't how I should be feeling. I was like, I'm going to feel this way anyway. However, I know if I know that I shouldn't be, I can get over this. That's why one thing I have a hard time doing is holding grudges. It got to be a serious situation for me to be like, yeah, that was fucked up. Like it has to be one of those clear, concise situations where it's like, yep, this one's on you, not me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, and other than that, I was like, I can't hold grudges. I told somebody I was gonna be angry at them for more than a day. I woke up the next day, I was like, shit, I'm happy. I ain't got no problem with them. Yeah. You can that's another thing, right? People who hold grudges for a long time, you can tell that what's it called, or how they tell a story. Tell a story about about their situation with somebody, right? Because obviously the story is going to be biased, right? More than likely, the story is going to be biased in their favor, but it's how they explain how the other person fucked up, typically, right? That you'll notice that they don't do introspective thinking at all whatsoever. Because the first question I think of, right, and I typically I don't ask a lot of people this because I was like I'm not cool enough with a lot of people that I have these conversations with to ask them like to go deeper into a problem they have. I just be like, yeah, okay. But if I'm really thinking, if I'm really thinking about it, right, I'm like, okay, well, what's their point of view on this? Like, why did they think you were in the wrong, right? But they don't think like that. They just think like they did this wrong, they did this wrong, they did this wrong. Like, well, was there, if you know there was a right way to do it, did you tell them there was a right way to do it, right? They don't take the accountability route. They never do it. So
yeah, I would say it's more of like a one-dimensional type of way of thinking.
Yeah,
almost in the worst way possible, because I feel like people could associate one-dimensional thinking with maybe like doing introspection, but I do believe it's not that.
no. Introspection, no matter if you know what you're doing, it's definitely multidimensional.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. It should be, at least. Should feel that way.
It's like, as a matter of fact, funny because a friend of mine, I was having a conversation with them, and they said they felt like they reached nirvana.
That's crazy.
I was like, well, if it's your first time doing deep introspective thinking, yeah, it might feel like that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
It's like you open your mind up to a whole new world.
Yeah, and like I said, in the best way possible.
In the best way possible.
And one thing I want to add to this, I'm going to get into this a little bit because I do believe it's something that has helped me out through my own personal journey, and we'll get into something that's helped you out with becoming a little bit more introspective. I'm going to give you a book recommendation. This is going to be a book that helped me out with analyzing my own self, and also being a better observer of people by recognizing my own ways of thinking and recognize how that can affect other people. And also recognize within observing a person's own way of thinking and going about problems. This is going to be the book. It's called The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. The author's last name is Covey. I know that for sure, but definitely a great book. And when I was doing my most introspective thinking of my own life and the ways in which I wanted to go ahead and conduct my life and become a lot more clear on certain things, that was definitely a book that helped me get into the right direction and also expand my knowledge on certain things that I wasn't exactly taking into account. So definitely going to be a good book if you're a person that is wanting to get a little bit more introspective. I would definitely recommend that book. Out of all the books that I have read, that is probably going to be the best one for that specifically. Anthony, I have a question for you. Has there been a certain thing that you've done or a certain book that you read or a certain piece of information that you've consumed that you think has helped you out with being a little bit more introspective?
That's actually interesting. I can't say. I mean, there have been there's a book, right? Becoming Supernatural, right? I wouldn't say it helped me become more introspective, but I'd say it helped me think deeper within my already given introspection. It's because it's introspective thinking that's something. It's something I picked up on my own. I don't know when I picked it up. I'm pretty sure I picked it up. Probably around, I'd say probably around freshman year high school, right? I didn't read into it and everything. It's just something I just started doing. I didn't even notice it, right? I never really occurred to me. It was just something I started doing. I was like, when I'm alone, I always have my thoughts with me. So I was like, well, I thought to myself, what are those thoughts saying, right? And just like that, I just started thinking introspectively. But it did help me. What's it called? Analyze the words that are written down in books more easily. Because I read it first. I read the words, right, and then I read it over again. I always read it over a second time. The first time is taking it in, and the second time is evaluating it, right? And the reason why is because first I read it like that's taken in regularly, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second time I take it in through like an introspection type void, right? I'd say void because there's the regular route. There's what you're supposed to get from it, right? And then I'd say it's like a void. It's like all the other things you can get from it, right? It's like what else can it's like expanding on the idea that you've already been which you've been given. So I was like, there was a good example in Becoming Supernatural, right? When he talked about it was a monk talking about how there was a guy No. There was multiple guys walking up hills, right?
Okay.
And there's a guy at the top of the mountain, and he's in a cave, and he said, "I can walk through this wall," right? And they're like, "What? You can walk through a wall? No way," right? And then he proceeds to show them, right? He indeed walks clearly through the wall, passing on to the other side of the mountain. And in doing so, he showed them that anything is possible, right? Anything is possible, whether you, as long as you believe, right? It wasn't. I'm sure that while in the story it's a literal sense, right, that he was able to pass clearly through a wall that he should not be able to pass through, but how you're supposed to perceive it is metaphorically, like the only reason why you can't is because you say you can't.
Oh yeah,
Right.
you think that you can't.
Exactly. And I had to it was like a little prompt that I was reading on there. I was like, I had to reread it over like twice, 3, 4 times over. I was like, because I was like, there's a deeper message here, and I can get to it. I just need to go deeper in my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's how introspecting has helped me. I was like, and when I realized that, I was like, that's incredible. That's actually incredible. Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely helps.
reading definitely allows you to not only consume the knowledge within the book, but also kind of fit that knowledge within your own life, and apply that how you could. This is the way that I read books. When I read books, I look for actual instant application to my life, a relatability to my life, and some type of capacity. So, also another one of those things that I think is definitely going to allow you to expand your introspection. Definitely reading for sure. Definitely help both of us for sure. So. And one thing I want to make very, very clear, because obviously with introspection is just thinking. It's just a lot of thinking, and this is something that I mentioned on previous podcasts, but I need to mention it again because it's something that is so unfortunately prevalent within today's society. Most people don't spend enough time thinking. Most people don't spend enough time with themselves to try to analyze certain things. And if you're not spending enough time thinking, then you're not going to be expediting certain issues that you do have. You're not going to be getting over them as quickly as you possibly can, and you'll be actually prolonging the process on certain things. Like Jaden had mentioned earlier, if you don't take the time to heal, right? If you don't take the time to think about the things that you need to do, or the things that you need to get over when it comes to healing, and you don't give yourself enough time, then you're gonna stretch a problem a lot longer than it needs to be gotten over for sure.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, for sure. You're definitely gonna stretch out work longer. And here's the thing: when you face the problem, right? Like when you force to face a problem, I'm gonna tell you this right now. It's gonna suck.
Oh, 100%.
It's gonna suck, right? But it's gonna suck a hell of a lot more if you drag that shit out. It's like you're torturing yourself, honestly.
Self-sabotage.
Self-sabotage.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure. It's as a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure you told me about this term. It's either you face the dragon or the dragon faces you, pretty much.
Yeah, like I said, the more you avoid the dragon gets bigger, and you're gonna have to slay it eventually.
Yep.
It's gonna get so big that it's gonna become undeniable, and you're gonna have to deal with it. Maybe potentially even in an unexpected moment where you're not even ready for that.
Exactly. And then it gets so much worse for you. Yep.
Exactly. Jaden said, "Too many people are scared of their own emotions and thoughts." What do you think about that, Anthony?
It's very true, very true. Whether they admit it or not, most people that's probably why they don't look deeper into it, because they realize they're like they try to steer clear of that area. They're like, I'd rather not deal with those emotions. And understandably, I was like, I don't like dealing with emotions either. I was like, emotions they're a pain in the ass. They're all over the place, right?
Yeah, unpredictable for sure.
Unpredictable, exactly. That's probably which people like what's they know, right?
Mm-hmm.
People fear what they don't understand, and when they don't understand their emotions, most of them don't understand their emotions actually. So that's why they try to steer clear of it. But introspective thinking, right? It may be scary at first, right? Depending on how you handle it, you'll realize though after a while it's not too bad if you can control it, if you can truly understand it for what it is.
What I would like to say is this. This is the way that I see it. Once you start getting into introspective thinking, you'll recognize that you're almost like a shell, or you're almost like a turtle without a shell, right? At least is the way that I think of it, right? You're in this like very, very vulnerable state because you're being honest with yourself, and you obviously can't run away from your own problems to yourself, because you know your weaknesses, you know the things that you need to get better at for sure. So obviously, like Jaden had mentioned, people are very, very scared of their own thoughts and emotions. It's because they're unable to face them and evaluate them for what they are, so therefore they run away, thinking that it's going to be better. Obviously, the result of that's obviously not going to be better. But yeah, that's the way that I personally see it. Is introspection is getting that reality that you're almost naked. You're vulnerable,
Yeah.
right? And through this vulnerability, you're going to be able to get past it if you do endure all of what comes with that. And if you don't, then you're also going to, get the result of that, which is going to be you dragging on the problem or you not being able to handle it in the proper way, for sure.
Exactly. And you become your own enemy.
Hmm.
You become your own enemy. And I'm telling you right now, you will whoop your own ass every time.
Yeah, and it's being ignorant as well. I would agree. I would say
Oh, for sure.
I used to be scared of doing that. Once I finally did, I enjoy it now. Yeah, it's something that is. I feel like initially there's going to be the uncomfortable period. Like I think Anthony had mentioned that.
Yeah.
It's gonna suck. It's gonna suck at first because you're super vulnerable, but it's something that eventually, like Jaden had mentioned, you can. It's gonna be something that is very, very enjoyable and something that you actually probably prefer to do over most things. Hopefully.
Yeah, and the dealing with introspection when you first do it, instead of the calm before the storm, you get the storm before the calm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it opens you up to a world of I don't even know where I was going with that. I had a thought and I lost it.
Going to a world of what, Anthony?
Of your imagination. I don't know.
Just something like that. Something like that.
Yeah, but here's the one thing I want to stress enough. I can't stress enough is that it takes time. It takes a lot of time. If you noticed all the aspects that we described, right? The whole where you have to be isolated, right? No distractions, right? You have to be to yourself. All that takes time. You're not just gonna have like 5 minutes of introspective thinking and you're just gonna be, oh, I know everything now. No, it doesn't work like that. You're gonna need I'd say at least a solid 30 minutes. But
Oh yeah, for sure.
But in that 30 minutes, it'll probably feel like 2, 3, 4 hours. Because your mind thinks pretty fast. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, but it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen all at once. It's not gonna happen quick. And you really have I can't stress enough that you have to be to yourself. No distraction at all whatsoever. Like I've done this while driving in my car before. Right, I already know my destination, so I don't have to think about where I'm going. It's just basic autopilot. But I have music on, right? And you realize if you're doing introspective thinking, even if you put on your favorite songs, you don't hear them.
Yeah, you can drown them out.
Yeah, it's just white noise at that point, really. Whether you do it on purpose or not, you literally have to be to yourself. There's no other. I can't stress that much enough.
Yeah, no, I would definitely have to agree. It's definitely best by yourself.
Yeah.
I forget that I'm even driving sometimes. That's crazy. That's crazy. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, me too.
You just be within your own thoughts. Yeah. You be with yourself, not by yourself.
Exactly.
I know.
I'll be like, what in the hell? I'm already here. Holy shit. No, here's the thing. I drive an hour and a half to work every day. But here's the thing. After I drive, obviously, I drive with my brother, right? After he goes to sleep, if I'm not jamming out to the music, right? Like I'll turn the music down some, and I'll just be in my thoughts, right? It's an hour and a half drive, right? At this point, I'd say he falls asleep at like the 20-minute, 30-minute point, depending on where we're at. Even sometimes he doesn't, right? He's on his phone. Either way, I'm driving and it's quiet outside the music, right? That hour and a half drive feels like 15 minutes.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn. Locked in.
And
locked out though.
Oh yeah, for sure. Here's the thing. The only problem is I can't write everything down because I'm driving. So it's like, and even though I can do introspective thinking, but it's a bit harder when you're going. I'm not going to put out my speed limits out there. The cops don't need to get on me anymore. But I'm not going slow. I'll tell you that right now. So
yeah, he's going the speed limit. Yeah, he's going the speed limit.
I'm going the speed limit.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I want to add to this as well, and I feel like Anthony, you probably be able to say the same thing, right? When you do it for a long enough period of time and have this introspective thinking and try to analyze the certain things that not only you can do within yourself, but also be able to be a very, very good observer of other people. When you do it for a long enough period of time, you should start to see noticeably different ways of thinking for yourself, as opposed to the way that the majority of the masses think about certain things.
Yeah,
you'll be able to get to a deeper root of the problem, or you'll be able to see things that you see a lot of people within society not being able to comprehend or not being able to understand. And I do believe that's definitely going to give you some type of leverage when it comes to certain type of social situations, because a lot of people have not thought about a lot of problems thoroughly. they've just heard a solution that they thought was reasonable for what it was. They didn't look any deeper. They took it for what it was, and they just they're a copy and paste, repeating exactly what they've heard, and that's it, right? But if you're a person who's done it for a long enough period of time, you're inevitably going to think differently.
Inevitably. And here's the thing: when you think deeper, right? When you get into those deeper thoughts, right, and you're not thinking the other way other people think, right? You realize that in the depths of that conversation, to you, it becomes common sense. What to them becomes just like, what? No way. You just like, you should have known this, but they're not thinking that way though.
Mm-hmm.
So it's. I want to say you just naturally just become like smarter than those people, but I was like, I don't.
Oh no, that's what it is. That's what it is.
It really is what it is.
Yeah, if you're putting in the time, regardless of the like I said, if you put in enough time, you're going to be more skilled. You're going to be more smart. You're going to be, more developed than another person. That's just what it is, right? People, you just got to put the time in. You got to put the time in.
I would say this: every war could have been avoided with thorough introspective thinking on the leader's behalves. I'm not talking about the leader like the figureheads. I'm talking about the people who are actually saying we're going to war. Like the people who are just like we're doing this shit. Like,
yeah, well, I would say obviously probably a little bit more emotional. It's more of an emotional thing to go to war.
Exactly. I imagine there's a lot of anger and disappointment involved. But here's the thing. Also, there's propaganda involved. But here's the thing: if you can explain your introspective thinking to the masses, right, in a way that they all understand, you can be like, yo, this is clearly not the route to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
She said, when I'm in my deep thoughts, or when I'm deep in my thoughts, I'm not driving. God is. Jesus, take the wheel for the one time.
Oh, I don't even know how many times Jesus took the wheel from me, bro.
He stayed me driving. Jeez, that's crazy. That's crazy.
He driving most of the time.
That's crazy.
I gave him the
Also,
keys.
he said, here's the keys. Oh. That's funny. But getting into it, one thing I want to reemphasize, this is something that I mentioned a little bit earlier, but I definitely feel like I need to reemphasize this for sure. When it comes to introspective thinking, always ask more questions. And I'm not saying consciously think about the questions that you ask, but just at least this is the way that me and Anthony do it. We unconsciously think of more questions. It's not something that we're like, oh, why am I feeling this way? It's just kind of like it's just happening. It's just happening, right? So if you're a person that doesn't exactly work like that, or at least not yet, I would write down some questions that kind of give you more of a clear answer. So whatever you feel to be the most clear, or your process of getting to the most clear answer, I would definitely recommend writing those things down and then asking yourself those questions when they need to be asked, because questions are going to need to be asked, and questions are obviously going to need to be answered. And if they're not being asked and answered, then you're just you're in a state of just trying to figure things out still. So you need to just buckle down, handle it, and then go from there.
Yep, exactly. Ask the who, why, what, when, where, how. But it's mostly a lot of why. Why. After a while, you already know why. You don't even have to ask the question anymore. And it's when you don't know why that you need that introspection the most, is when you're like, and then you realize a lot more, right? You can handle a lot more situations. Obviously, it doesn't always work when it's just like in the moment, you're angry about something, but it'll help you move forward. Like, let's just say you're angry at someone for whatever reason, right? You punch him in the face.
Okay.
Right? Okay, right? Now, clearly that wasn't a good outcome, right? However, right, if you go back and you think introspectively, like, why did I do that, right? And what could I have done better? And then how can I make this right? When you ask all these questions,
how can I avoid it in the future?
How can I avoid it in the future? Yeah. So where did I go wrong? Where did they go wrong? And how do I communicate this to them so that we don't have this problem anymore in the future? Yeah, exactly. It's literally just what you said. Yeah, and you can grow so much with that,
Mm-hmm.
But
100%.
and you don't even you don't mostly don't need other people. This is all internal. This is all internal.
And hopefully you have people around you that, at the very least, if you're maybe not thinking about it the most rational way possible, you have people you can go to that can help you, differentiate this problem or kind of process this problem the way that it needs to be processed. That's definitely going to be very, very helpful. That if I ever have any issue that I feel like I need to talk about, I have people like Anthony, I have people like my boy Heem, I have people like Jaden that I go to where I can, discuss the things and to hopefully come to a more clear and more rational um, way of thinking for sure, for sure. But yeah, definitely continue to ask more questions because the more questions you're going to be able to ask, the more clear you're going to become. So yeah, for sure. And like Jaden had mentioned, where's everybody at? Shake my head. It's about as simple as that. Exactly. That's what we're saying.
It really is.
But it's all right. It's all right though. It's all right though. The game still be given out. Like I said, at the very least, we gave him the game, man.
We did definitely give him the game. And I'll tell you right now, right? I know it says it's not easy to face yourself, but also introspection itself. I can't just necessarily say how difficult it is, right? Because I told you I've been doing this naturally, but I imagine it's not something that's easy to just do on your own. Because if it was, I imagine most people would be doing it. So at least I would hope so.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, this is something you're gonna have to train your mind to do this, right?
It's worth your time though.
It's definitely worth your time. Yeah, you'll realize that you can go far. You can go far, but you will have to, at the very least, if you want to take time out to do this, you have to put all devices down, right? No phone, no TV, no tablet, no computer,
for the distractions,
nothing.
for sure.
Exactly. Everything turned off, right? Sit to yourself, right? Imagine as if you're in like a prehistoric time, no technology, right? Nothing around you.
Yeah. And what I will say with that is, or we should continue. You were saying.
Oh no, that was it.
One thing that I will definitely recommend to you. This is something that I have been able to maintain throughout this last year as one of the best habits that I've had that I've implemented consciously, and allowed me to be very very introspective in the way that I think about a lot of different things and going over a lot of different problems. This is going to be the habit of within your first hour or two of your day not going on your phone. Obviously, most people's first reactions to waking up is going on their phone. But if you actually, neglect your phone for like let's just say an hour to get ready or 2 hours to get ready for work, whatever, do and handle whatever you need to handle, it'll allow you to be having a lot more organic thought. And obviously, with organic thought, you can kind of evaluate what's truly important within your life. You can evaluate maybe the things of focus that truly need to be focused on. You can, if you're going through a problem, you can get more of like a refreshed start almost with especially with the start of the day because usually when you wake up, hopefully you don't wake up fucking pissed. If you wake up like more like a neutral type of way or maybe even a slightly positive, hopefully, you can better handle problems instead of going back and rereading the text message. If you're able to just remove yourself from that and then just kind of think about it naturally, and evaluate it that way, that's definitely going to put you in a way better position to think a little bit more rational, especially with you obviously waking up. But that's just my recommendation for sure.
Oh, for sure, for sure. If you start your day right like that, like getting ready, like here's the thing. Even if you don't have anything to do that day, if you just wake up by getting ready, you're like, after is the thing. It may be a pain in the ass from the beginning, but you're like, you feel better about yourself because you're like, yeah, I did that. I'm ready for this day. It automatically it'll boost the way you're feeling. You're like, I may not wanted to do it, but it's something I needed to do, and it's something I did do, right?
Yeah, you'll thank yourself later for sure.
Oh, for sure. You do it often enough, it'll become habit.
And then we'll go ahead and end it up here in a minute. So, like I said, if you guys have any questions or comments regarding anything that we have mentioned, definitely leave it in the comments. But yeah, we'll go ahead and break it down one more time for you guys very very shortly, and then we'll go and end it off. So, like I said, if you're rewatching this and you have a question, definitely leave it in the comments. I'll answer. Anthony will answer. So I'll tap in with that for sure, for sure. Yeah, we got to get some more people in here, man. Skills are being developed, though. Skills are being developed for sure, for sure.
For sure.
But yes, I'll try to break it down the best I possibly can. Have you break it down with me, Anthony? So, introspective thinking was today's topic. Obviously, this is going to be a topic that hopefully I can revisit as more time progresses, because obviously I'll have more time to analyze these certain things. But essentially, I'll give you the definition. It's basically the examination or observation of one's own mental and emotional processes, especially with, obviously with yourself, of course. And obviously, with that, you can expand to be a little bit more of an observer of the way other people, process certain things, or handle it mentally, right? Anthony, go ahead and that's you right here, man. Yeah, we're gonna reiterate. We're gonna
Oh,
reiterate
yeah.
the points that we have mentioned already.
Yeah, basically that, introspection, it can only be done when you're by yourself, right? You need no distractions at all whatsoever, whether it's something little, right? Anything that can catch your focus that isn't just thinking to yourself, you got to cut that off. You need absolute 100% focus, like tunnel vision type level focus. That there's no distractions at all whatsoever.
Yeah, but if you're able to amass this feat, you're gonna be in the best position possible, 100%.
Oh, for sure.
And with that being said, it is going to be an absolute necessity for self improvement. If you're a person that is wanting to make any type of change within your life, you're definitely going to need to be a little bit more introspective than the average person, especially if you want more than the average person. Because if not, you're just going to be like everybody else, man. And then you go ahead, Raz, you right here.
Oh yeah, right. It's literally it's a filter to turn any emotion you have into a logical reasoning. So any negative emotions you may feel, it helps you process those, right? What the right from wrong anytime. I will say there's one thing, right? There is one potential drawback, right? And if you realize it's easier to detach from people, right? Well, at least not maybe not from people specifically, but more from how much you care about their opinions, right? That's why you need to make sure you have a separate select group of people. So more introspective thinking. It's know whose opinion you value, right? Because if you do enough of this, you'll realize a lot of people's opinion does not matter at all whatsoever. You only need the opinion of the few. That's your inner circle, right? Yeah, and because you'll realize, right, you don't care about how they feel about you, right? But I'm talking about people outside your inner circle. So yeah, because you realize their emotions don't matter as long as they don't affect your emotions, right? And they won't affect your emotions if you can think logically. So
Yeah, one thing I want to mention with that as well is you can tell people haven't done enough time with introspective thinking based off of how what somebody says affects them emotionally. I'll say that for sure. If you're very clearly defined why you're confident or why you believe in yourself, and when people start to doubt you or people try to tell you that you're a certain way that you believe that you're not, you're going to be able to better defend yourself. You're going to not be able to believe what they're telling you. But if you're a person that hasn't put in that time to truly think about these things in an introspective way, then you're going to be easily swayed by the opinions of people who shouldn't matter,
very true, very
right?
true. Yeah.
So, like I said, you can kind of tell. I can kind of tell when a person hasn't put in enough time or who hasn't thought about certain things about themselves enough to fully make it a clear and established thing for themselves, just based off of how much a person can affect them emotionally, for sure.
Yeah, you by doing that, by allowing people to like when someone talks shit on you, honestly, allow and they're not someone that actually matters to you, right? Because if someone who matters to you clearly and your center circle is talking to you and they're talking shit on you, clearly it's more than likely you actually did something wrong, right? It's an opinion you should actually value, like you fucked up something.
Yeah.
But if it's just some random person, don't there's no point in listening to them, right? Because then you give them a lot more power than you should, right?
Hmm.
If they had no power over you from the jump, then there nothing they say will can influence how you move forward. Yeah.
Yeah, Jaden, you're exactly right. It's like I said earlier, you can only care when you already believe it. Or yeah, if you think that has some type of validity behind it, of course you're going to obviously have an emotional reaction that's particularly probably negative because it's something that you're considering. But if you already clearly defined it for yourself or clearly differentiated that is not you or that is not the way in which you act, obviously you're going to not be emotionally swayed by that for sure. Well, yeah, moving on. Well, like I said, we're recapping everything that we had already mentioned. If you have any questions or comments regarding anything that we hadn't mentioned, make sure you go and leave in the comments. But Anthony, go ahead and handle this. Go ahead and handle these two right here.
All right. So yeah, this one's a big one, right? Actually, those two can could coincide in one, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's introspection is practically, at least if it's done properly, it can be like the cure for depression for long term, right? I've had short term depression before, like that's a day, maybe 2 days, and the reason why it never lasts long is because of introspection. I'm like, okay, I'm not feeling it today. Why am I not feeling it today? Maybe I'm just feeling lazy. That could be it, right? And I was like, that'll be gone within a day. Or right, something doesn't sit right with me, right? And if there's something that doesn't sit right with me, I'll think to myself, why doesn't this sit right with me? And I can handle that situation right there on the spot. So I don't have to, I don't have to deal with a long stint of not feeling good. But with that as well, it's you can't have you can't be blaming someone else for why you're feeling bad if it's genuinely not their fault. So you have to be 100% with yourself. You have to be 100% transparent, 100% honest, right? Nothing. You cannot have any delusion at all whatsoever. If you're delusional about how something went down, right, or why someone's feeling you make a certain way, right, you have to. It's not going to work. It's not going to help you out at all whatsoever. As a matter of fact, more than likely, it's going to make the situation worse. Any emotion you're feeling, whether that's angry, sad, disappointed, right, annoyed, it's gonna make it worse. It's a multiplier in that sense for the negative. What were you saying?
Yeah, no, and you're exactly right. It's almost like the thing that you had mentioned earlier, right? It's not calm before the storm; it's the storm before the calm.
Before the calm, yeah.
And that's exactly what it is. Especially with you being 100% transparent and honest with yourself, you're going to have those moments of where it's going to feel like you're your worst enemy, you're your biggest critic. But nonetheless, it is absolutely essential when it comes to that introspection, because at the end of the day, you want the best for your own life, and obviously you want to avoid the negative ways of being and thinking, and the only way to do that is through introspection, for sure.
Like they say, you gotta crawl before you walk. Well, you gotta drown before you swim in this situation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes. Some people just stay drowning. That's it. That's just what it is.
Yep. And that's the sad part, because most of this world is made up of water. You can explore it all if you learn how to swim.
Exactly right. Of course, come on now. There's basically another element that I want to add into that as well, with obviously you being 100% transparent and honest with yourself. When you're not being 100% honest with yourself, then you're going to have this element of guilt for not being able to fulfill your potential, or if you're going against the ways in which you need to go ahead and go. There's going to be an element of guilt for sure, and I feel like that's going to be one of the most essential parts of self-improvement, and especially within introspection, is getting to the point where you do start feeling guilty because you know better than that, right? And
guilt isn't always a bad thing in this situation.
Exactly, and I would say it's also probably a healthy indicator that you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Is if you're feeling guilt for when you feel like you're moving off path, for sure.
It's you holding yourself accountable, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And obviously, you better than anyone else. So therefore, when you're slacking, even if people are giving you the praise, you know deep down exactly what the fuck's going on.
Yeah,
that's just what it is. Like I had mentioned, a book that has helped me out, and this is going to be a book that I recommend for this specific podcast, and I'm sure there's going to be better books for this, but I can only explain from my own personal point of view. A book that has helped me out time and time again when it comes to introspection and also being a good observer of other people's ways of being. This is going to be The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'll just say that for sure. Guilt is only useless when you ignore it. Exactly. You're exactly right, Jaden. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting into the next thing. I want to reiterate this point as well. Most people don't spend enough time thinking, so therefore you kind of can see it within their ways of being. Maybe it's a conversation that you had. Maybe it's the way they went about a certain problem. Maybe it's a certain opinion that they went ahead and have fully established for themselves that they've heard from somebody else, right? There's going to be something that you're going to clearly see that's going to be different than the people who have put in the time with doing that introspective thinking and the people that haven't. Because they're going to be clearly differentiated by the way that they handle and look at certain things. There's going to be certain things that you're going to go through, or certain things that that maybe the other person can go through, that maybe it would take them a lot longer, and maybe it would actually help you expedite your process if you're able to be a little bit more introspective. And obviously, with them not being as introspective as you are with the ways in which they go about analyzing the way that they're being. They're obviously not going to be in the best position, and they're going to drag on problems a lot longer than what is exactly necessary. Pretty much. That's pretty much what I have to say. Also, one thing I want to reiterate as well is ask as many questions as you possibly can. Introspection is supposed to be something where you unconsciously ask yourself the questions that is needed in order to progress mentally, for sure. Do you have anything else you want to say before we go and end it off, Anthony?
Yeah, sure. With asking those questions, right? It's this. You can actually learn more about yourself. You can learn significantly more about yourself, about how things make you feel, how can you respond to things that make you feel, right? It's literally as far as they say with being in tune with your emotions and all that crap. Sure, you can do that, and that's good, but it's not as effective as introspective thinking is, honestly. That's I feel like introspecting is what it truly means to be in tune with your feelings, right? Is being able to turn it into a purpose for how you can move forward. Yeah.
I would definitely agree.
Yeah.
But like I said, we'll go ahead and end it off here in a minute. If you guys have any questions regarding anything, make sure to leave them in the comments, and then we'll go ahead and end it off. But definitely a great episode for sure. This was episode 52 of the Life of a Champ podcast. Talking about introspective thinking, obviously with the boy Anthony. Come on now. If y'all don't know Anthony, man, they're missing out, man. You're missing out, man.
I'm sorry for you if you don't know me.
He said, I'm sorry for you. But yeah, introspective thinking is definitely something that I definitely can credit most of my self-development journey to. I've had a lot of periods of time, thankfully, where I have been able to be a lot more introspective than the average person. And that is definitely going to be something that I would recommend for everybody, is to find certain ways that they do believe that's going to help you be a little bit more introspective. For me personally, it was reading books. It was being to myself. It was honestly not having a job for a whole year to really reflect and heal the things that I needed to heal. Maybe it's different for you. Maybe you need to spend a little bit less time, or maybe you need to spend a little bit more time, or maybe you need to talk to a certain person, right? There's going to be a lot of different ways we can go ahead and go about this, or maybe it's even you spending 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, 15 minutes a day, just thinking to yourself and allowing your thoughts to become a lot more clear, for sure. Everybody's going to handle it differently, but definitely you still got to handle it a certain way, for sure. There is
no self-improvement without this.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, for the most part, at least mental for.
Yeah, you're definitely not going to be able to mentally progress if there's not if there's not critical thinking, right?
Exactly.
Critical thinking skills, which allow you obviously to evaluate your own personal self.
Yeah, introspection is like it's like if you're trying to grow a plant, it's the water, right? So if you have a thought, right, your thought, that's your seed, right, and you plant that in the ground, right. But if you end it there, right, then it becomes nothing. You got to water that thing though, right? And then know what happens? You grow much more thoughts from that, right? It becomes a chain or a tree of that all expands from one single thought, right? It's like what's a good example of this? As a matter of fact, something I do every single day, right? Well, most days, I wake up, right? Whether it's I wouldn't say not getting out of bed. It's like I don't want to go to the gym today, right? I'd be like, here's the thing, most people would leave it at that thought, right? I don't want to go to the gym today, so they don't, right? My thought is this, like, I don't want to go to the gym today. However, let me analyze what happens if I think I do. I was like, if I do, I was like, if I get up, I go to the gym, I'm gonna feel a lot better that I went, even though I'm gonna have that pain in the ass process of getting up, getting ready, driving all the way down there, even doing the workout, might be something I didn't want to do. But when you get back, you'll feel a hell of a lot better that you did it than not as opposed to just sitting at home like doing whatever.
Yeah, and I feel like that shows the actual evolution of a person who's done enough introspective thinking that obviously understands the consequences of their actions and understands that maybe it's not exactly the way that you feel that's going to reap you the most benefit, right? That takes a level of introspection that maybe some people are not even capable of having at the current moment because they're just so swayed by the way that they feel about a certain thing, right?
Oh, for sure. If you're stuck on the first thought and you will never see the bigger picture.
Exactly, you're exactly right. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and end it off. Appreciate everyone for stopping by. Tap in with the next podcast on Tuesday. Tap in with that for sure. I'm definitely gonna have more guests on. So if there's a specific guest that you want to have on, or that you have seen before that you definitely want to have back on again, definitely let me know for sure. Anthony, I appreciate you for stopping by once again, man. Doing I don't know, I think this might be the 15th podcast, something like that.
Yep.
For sure. And then let me see what else. Yeah, we'll have Jaden on next week. So if you guys love Jaden on the podcast, we'll definitely have another one. It'll be over similar topics that we've talked about before, but also we want to expand on a lot more ideas
I missed the last
as well.
one, so I gotta.
Yeah, you definitely got to catch up,
that.
Anthony.
Yeah.
Definitely a great one for sure. So we'll tap in with that on for sure on Tuesday. And other than that, I'll leave you guys off with the podcast motto. Fellas out here, man, we don't just work around here, man. We outwork. So make sure y'all work with these motherfuckers because you know that we are always outworking these motherfuckers, man. It's as simple as that, man. But y'all have a good rest of your night. Tap in with the podcast on Tuesday, like I had mentioned. And here very, very soon, we're going to be reacting to Drake's new album. So if you love music, definitely tap in with that for sure. AJ, appreciate for stopping by, man.
You
Rewatch
just
the
missed
podcast.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
rewatch the podcast if you haven't already, man.
Yeah, this one was a good one.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll have you back on here soon as well, AJ. Come on now.
Oh yeah.
But y'all have a good rest of your night. Like I said, tap in Tuesday.